Scott, are you ready? We're going medieval. Scott, you and I are going medieval in the latest adventure over on Steam. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, well, my first impression of this one was there seems to be a lot of freedom. I've played a lot of RTSs before, so I was kind of expecting something like that, but what I was met with was more of a city builder than anything. A colony sim, they call it, and this is my first experience with that kind of game. What was your first impression?
First impressions, first of all, I'm a huge city builder. I love these games. I started way back on PC, so to be over here doing this again was awesome. But it's in a different vein, right? Normally when you're doing city builders, you're way up, almost like a god type view looking down over top the city as you build it out. This time, you're actually almost right on the ground with your own kind of like pioneer group, you would call them, more or less. Your villagers are set out, and you have to kind of organize them and get them up and running to then start building out your village, your colony, and moving forward. But dude, honestly, it was real slow to get going. It took a long time for me to actually kind of get a bit of a hook into the game, per se, to really want me to thrive forward. My first half hour, dude, I almost fell asleep playing the game.
It is a difficult start. Yeah, there's something about the pacing. I think that brings us to the first kind of issue with this game, but I'll offer a little bit of explanation on that. There's only 4, usually, villagers at the beginning. You can assign jobs to them. They each kind of go about their day, sleeping, having time off, time for leisure, time for work. So you have to set up these kind of menu systems first before you really get any sort of action going. And that was not very well explained to me, really. So you're kind of left to stumble upon finding what works to get people working. You also have to kind of issue orders. So a lot of the time your villagers just won't have anything to do because there is no construction at the moment for them to be assigned to, or there's no trees for them to cut down that you have to go around and pick which trees to cut down and which kind of items to harvest, berries and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of things that go into just getting off the ground, but what that results in is a lot of slow action and very slow growth. even after that, you are afforded the opportunity to get new villagers. Some scenarios come up and you can turn these people away or you can bring them in. That speeds up your production a lot, but at the same time it brings about some other issues too. So it's kind of hard to get your footing into this one, but when you do, there is a lot of delayed gratification.
I think it was the lack of tutorial really that helped kind of starve my adventure getting into the game. It wasn't really able to guide me to get things up and running, as my characters would just really idle, and you're left to, like you say, stumble your way into progression and getting your guys up and running and looking at research. And then when you start to click on tabs and things like that, you get a pop-up window then does explain what's going on. But when you first kind of get started, there's really not a lot of information to guide you to get your feet wet as to how to move in and move forward, growing up with everybody and everything, kind of getting your village starting. But one of the cool aspects that I ran into was actually another villager came across me and asked to join up while he was bleeding, so I took him in so I could heal him up. And then I found out he was getting chased by raiders, who then stumbled across my village and killed him and injured one of my other guys. So you know, there's a bit of a risk reward going on here too, with who else do you want to help or not kind of thing, and you can defend yourself. Now there was an option too, just to play, so all I have to do is focus on just building out my village and stuff. So that does give you the opportunity to play a different couple of game modes as well. What I thought was really cool. The game, Scott, biggest for me is really getting going. It was hard and it's so slow, but I think there's a lot of promise overall.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of depth, and it's hard to kind of understand at first. I went through a couple different iterations of eureka moment. Okay, time to start a new game. I don't like the way my city looks. I think it's inefficient and ineffective. So I would come back and just start a brand new game because it's easier to do that than to fix what you've already done. And I think that might be an issue with this game specifically. But there is a lot of militaristic kind of interactions, so you do really have to be kind of thoughtful about where you're putting things. And I ended up coming up with the plan of everything surrounds a tower, and the tower is where I go when the raiders come. And that got me through just barely. But sometimes it's wolves, sometimes it's raiders, sometimes it's jailers. There's quite a bit of story element that they drop into this, which is very welcome, because otherwise it's just a city builder.
Scott, you and I checked out Going Medieval over on Steam in early access, and for me, I'm kind of on the fence. Do I recommend it right now? It is still that early, right? But if you can get into it, then I think you're really going to enjoy yourself in the game. So yeah, I'm gonna have to recommend this one.
Yeah, I am very split, just as you are. I certainly had a good time with this game. I don't want to take away from that. I really do enjoy this style of game, and I'm new to the colony sim kind of idea. So let me start off by saying this game is very complicated. It can give you exactly what you want if you know what you want to build. It's for you to design your own city, your own buildings, and kind of craft characters as they are. So there's a lot of really good stuff in this. But I have to mention the lack of understanding. The screen you're met with is just very busy. There's a lot of information that you have to deal with, and it's not user-friendly. So in this case, I actually have to not recommend this one. Going Medieval has a great amount of depth and micromanagement. The freedom to build your city how you want. However, the tutorials are lacking. It's not very user-friendly, and as such, we have a split opinion on the recommendation.